Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for Empowered for Balance today. And today we're going to talk about how we can eat healthy, even with our busy schedules, because I realize that that is one of the things that we struggle with as busy women who have goals, who have visions, who have businesses, who have things that we're trying to achieve. Sometimes it's hard for us to stick to a healthy meal plan or a healthy eating plan. So today I have Lynne Wadsworth joining us to talk to us about how we can eat healthy as busy women. Hi, Lynn, how are you?
Hi, I'm great, Arma. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm a holistic health and wellness coach and life coach. I'm also a wellness cooking instructor. So I first started my business because of my own health. I'm in Florida, but I'm originally from England because you probably figured out I don't sound like most Americans. But I really got interested in the health and wellness sphere because I was going through so much myself. So it's just become a passion. One of the things I love to do is teach busy women how to live that healthy lifestyle. I also help women in midlife because everything is kind of weird in midlife. So I'm really, really thankful that you've had me on here today.
Awesome. Awesome. And thank you so much for taking time of your busy schedule because I know you are a woman of many hats. And so, you know, and, apart from work, tell us a little bit about your other background because I know you have an interesting background with the military and all that. So,
Yes, my husband and I met while he was stationed in England. He was in the Air Force, and I had never been away from home before. I was a mama's girl. So moving from England over to the States was just a huge, huge thing for me. So I've been here so long now that I feel more American than I do British. But I came over here, had our children over. Well, the first one was born in England, and the second one was born in New Mexico. And so we've been to several places throughout the world. But then when he retired from the military, he went into the sheriff's office. So he's kind of had an interesting background. And I went into the legal field, worked as kind of a paralegal computer geek, and still work there part-time because my boss threatens I can't ever leave him. But that's not my passion. My passion is health and wellness.
yeah, yeah. Wow, that's a very interesting journey for you, especially traveling around the world. And I feel like it takes a lot of boldness to be able to move, from your original country and settle down in another country.
Yeah, it
Yep.
does.
Yeah. All right. All right. So let's get into it. One thing I've realized with myself and even with the women that I work with, because I work with busy women who are trying to shift from burnout to balance, and I talk a lot about self-care.
Mhm.
And one thing I realize is that a lot of times when it comes to the physical self-care, a lot of us have challenges with our eating because we're so busy. And so I wanted to bring you here so we can talk a little bit and so you can give us some strategies, about how we can live that healthy lifestyle. And I'm not even just talking about dieting, but more about a lifestyle that we can live with, for the rest of our
Right.
lives. Yes. So, how can we do this? That's the simple question.
Yeah, the simple question is, in 2 words, meal planning.
Mm,
So that is a huge thing. Being a woman, as you say, who is very busy myself, I was a yo-yo dieter, and some of my problem was I didn't know how to plan, and I was too busy to plan. Uh, but you just kind of have to get into that mindset of thinking, so if I really want to live a healthy lifestyle, and again, yes, like you, I don't mean diet per se,
mm,
because my method is more like a healthy lifestyle. It doesn't involve deprivation. It doesn't mean that you have to starve yourself. It means that you have to have a mindset shift to think about, how can I plan out my week so that I can eat healthily throughout the week with a minimal amount of time, because most of us come home from work,
mm,
we're too busy from the day, too tired to have to go in and cook a full meal. And then if you've got children at home and you're cooking for them too, it gets to be kind of crazy. And for some women, by 10, 11 o'clock at night, they're still going, they're still finishing up stuff. So I kind of help to teach people how they can plan ahead. And it seems kind of daunting when you first think about it, because it involves the planning of the meals and then batch cooking, meal preparation. But it really can be a simple thing when you get into a rhythm. So it not only helps you to lose weight if you want to lose weight, your grocery shopping gets easier, you save money, you've got less food wastage, it teaches you more about portion control, and it can be a huge time saver. So that's why I say, to begin with, it sounds daunting, because when I first started, I could take maybe 3 hours on a Sunday getting it done, but I've been doing it so long now that it's really a quick thing for me. So it definitely helps to keep you on that healthy lifestyle. It's the same when you even think about exercising. You think, how can I even fit in exercising when I'm so busy? Well, sometimes it's just a case of, when you're on a break at work, walking around the building. I mean, it doesn't have to be a huge, big thing, but as you get into that, it becomes a habit. And then you realize how much more you can do in the way of prep, so that it can help you live that healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. So what about when, because I have run into situations where I plan the meals, I buy the vegetables. I usually do the frozen bags of vegetables, and they're already portioned into 10-ounce bags. So I can just throw it in the microwave and warm it up and eat it with whatever protein I have. But there are times when, you've already planned the food and everything, and then you get there and you don't want to eat it.
Yeah, and
So what
that is a
happens in that
problem.
situation?
That
Yes.
is a problem. So I try to have a variety of things ready.
Yeah.
I love my freezer, I love my Instapot, and I love my crock pot, because they're ways that you can make a variety of meals. So very often when I'm prepping, I think ahead to, what do I want to eat? And I'm like you, some nights I come home and I'm like, I just don't really want that. So in those cases, what I often do, the way I meal prep, is now I buy fresh vegetables. I do have freezer kind as well, but mostly I do fresh. So I'll maybe on a Sunday, in the afternoons, I will prep my vegetables. I'll cut them up, whatever I bought for the week. I'll put them in a big Tupperware container. So sometimes I will just put them in there with some olive oil and then throw some fresh rosemary in and shake it up and leave it there. And then I'll roast vegetables for the week. So then you've got, if you don't do it that way and you just have the vegetables, then you've got the option of, if you want to roast them, then you can throw them in the oven. Or if you want to stir fry, then you can stir fry them with something. Or if you want to steam them, then do it that way. But then you've always got some vegetables to fall back on. Kind of the same with your carbs. So I'm not advocating white rice or white pasta, because that's not the way that I generally suggest people eat. But I'll often mix up a batch of something like brown basmati rice with a few lentils, and I'll put in some herbs and spices, leave those in the refrigerator. They can work as a side, or again, you can throw them in for stir fry. You can throw it into a soup if you want to. So it's a case of thinking ahead about something that you can use in a variety of ways, because the reason that you come home and you don't think you can face it again is because we get bored with it. So the other thing I do, so I often make either a huge pot of soup or a huge pot of chili. Then I'll keep some out for a couple of days in the week, and then throw some in the freezer, maybe in 1 or 2 tubs, so that one of those nights that, or in the morning, maybe I might think, I can't be bothered to cook tonight, and I'm going to take something out of the freezer. So it's the same with salads. There are different ways that you can make salads so that they don't go soggy, and you can prep salad for 2 or 3 days. And a great way to do salads is actually to do them in a jar.
Mm.
I don't know if you've heard
Oh.
them, salad in a jar. So there's a specific way that you do it. Um, and what you do is, so I'm a lover of mason jars. I mean, for so many years they were not used anymore, but I use them a lot. And the first thing that you do is put your salad dressing on. The very last thing that you do is put in the lettuce. But in between, you can put grains, you can put different kinds of vegetables. You can put seeds if you want, or some fruit if you want. And then the last thing is the lettuce. And you just can make 2 or 3 of them. And then when you get ready to throw them on the plate, you kind of got it upside down. Your salad dressing is on the top, and you can
Oh,
toss it
yeah.
together. And it does last several days. So, it's also handy for picking up and taking to work with you.
Mm.
So I've always planned ahead with the idea of, what do I want for breakfast? What do I want for lunch? What do I want for dinner? And what do I want as a snack? Because if we forget the snacks, then you get to work, or you get busy and you're hungry and you just reach for the first thing. Snacks can be so easy
Mm.
nowadays, from anything like almonds or nuts to apples with almond butter or peanut
Mm.
butter, or even making vegetables with a dip. There are so many different ways that you can just put vegetables together in a little baggie, or say nuts and some raisins and maybe some coconut, however you want to combine something like a trail mix and take it with
Mm-hmm.
you. You can plan ahead by making small protein balls, something to grab and take with you as a healthy option. Um, I was thinking, we were talking earlier about me. I have this whole meal prep thing that will be available, and I can put together, I've got also a list of 20 healthy snacks that would probably help, because
Nice.
if you've got the snacks there and you've got them planned as well, you're so far ahead. You can
Mm.
even plan your breakfast. So sometimes it depends on the mood I'm in, just like you're talking about. I'll take steel cut oats or rolled oats and make a batch for 4 or 5 days, put them
Mm.
into the very small mason jars that I have, and then portion them out per day. And then I will, before I would go to work when I was working full time, which I don't now, but I would put almond milk in and then throw some blueberries on after I'd warmed it up.
Mm.
Or you can throw in nuts in there. You can do the same thing with something like yogurt. I would make my own, well, not make my own, but not buy the ones with fruit. Buy a whole fruit, a whole milk Greek yogurt,
Mm-hmm.
and then blend some fruit together so that I would still get the fruitiness. Or sometimes if I crave chocolate, throw in cacao powder and
Yeah.
add some almonds on there, and you can grab that and go if you put it in a small mason jar. It's
Yeah.
all about thinking what you want to eat and how you're going to go about making that last. So
Mm.
if you've cooked and you've overcooked, then don't throw away your leftovers. Keep them. You might not want them the next day, but they're going to be fine the next day.
Mm. Mm.
So it's
Yeah.
really a
Yeah.
case of having that mindset of, how am I going to prep? What am I going to prep? So you always think about your breakfast, your snack, your lunch, your snack, your dinner. Um,
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds very simple the way you explain it, but in implementing it, what I'm understanding is that then we have to plan ahead. The
yes,
planning is the key part of
yes,
this.
it is.
Yes. So being
It
able to
is.
set aside at least a few hours a week to
Right,
plan ahead for the week so that we have everything all ready. So that when we are on the go, we just have it and then we can grab it and eat it.
right.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
How about when you cook for a family and maybe your family eats something else from what you want to eat, especially trying to stay healthy?
Yeah.
How do we handle that situation?
So I have that problem in my house because I'm a vegetarian and my husband is a meat eater. And I have to tell you, I am so blessed because he cooks his own meat and I don't have to mess with that. But you have to find some common ground. So even with children, most children will eat chicken. So one great way to cook chicken is to buy one of the very small roast chickens, a fresh one, throw it in your crock pot. So if you don't have something that goes in your crock pot that stands up a bit so the fat drips down, get some aluminum foil, or as we say in England, aluminium foil. Make it into big balls and put it on the bottom of your crock pot. Put the chicken over the top and then salt and pepper it, or put whatever spices you want on it. And then the fat drains to the bottom. So then you've got a chicken that you can use right away that day. You can cut it up into pieces and then put it in a container for another day for a different kind of meal. So most kids will eat the chicken. They won't necessarily eat all of the vegetables you like.
Yeah.
So it's really a case of coming together and thinking, what kind of grain, healthy grain, will everybody eat? Sometimes it's a matter of having to make 2 different grains, or maybe for kids that, my kids are grown, so I don't have to think about this anymore, but like mac and cheese that you'd make from scratch, because that's your healthier version. Or if they don't like brown rice, but they would eat white rice, a compromise could be doing basmati rice or wild rice and seeing if you can introduce a few new foods.
Yeah.
And then with the vegetables, again, if you've got them prepped and you know there's some they'll eat and there's some they won't, then you've kind of got to, if you want to roast them, take one side of your pan and put the kids' side and the other side your side. So you're still prepping as much as you can, but it takes a little bit more planning when you're thinking about children who can be a little bit picky with their eating.
Yep. Yeah.
It is sometimes good to introduce them to something new and see if they'll eat it. I mean, my son absolutely threw up when he had to eat cauliflower, and yet now it doesn't bother him at all. So especially nowadays with the different cauliflowers that you can buy, where you can make cauliflower rice and different things, you just have to think about how can you pep up the taste a bit so that the kids will eat it, because they might not even realize that it's not mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
If they don't see it, they're not going to know.
Yep. Yep, that's true. That is true. I know that you also help people with sugar addiction and sugar cravings. And I know that's one of the big challenges that busy, stressed women have, because, when we're under stress, we kind of have, some people have a lot of cravings. So can you give us a few strategies about how we can beat those cravings?
Well, one of the big things that helps me is thinking this. So I'm addicted to chocolate. I'll tell anybody I'm a sugarholic. I love chocolate. So sweets work on the same brain patterns, the brain chemicals that drugs do. So the reason that we crave it and we get addicted to it is it's the same portion of the brain that addicts people to things like heroin or cocaine. So to me, that makes me stop and think when I'm eating sugar, or if I'm overindulging, oh my gosh, that's what's happening, is it's causing an addiction in my brain. So you have to be really careful not to just detox totally off sugar, because you will get withdrawal symptoms. I know, I've been through it. So there are some simple strategies that you can do, but it does take work because it's a mindset shift. So a lot of us eat from emotions, for one thing. Journaling can really help. If you start journaling, this is what I ate today and this is how I was feeling. And then when you pinpoint what is driving you to that food, sometimes it helps you realize and have that aha moment and turn to something else. So if it's a daytime thing, you can try going out of the building, getting some fresh air, looking at nature for a while, just taking your mind off that craving. You can even determine in your mind that before I eat that, I'm going to have a glass of water, because am I really hungry? Am I really craving this? Or am I thirsty? What is it that's going on? And sometimes just stopping and having a glass of water will stop that craving to a
Yeah.
degree. Sometimes you can just do some deep breathing exercises. The ones I like, Dr. Andrew Weil has one that is, you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 7 seconds, and then you whoosh it out for 8 seconds, and you do that 4 times. Or you
Wow.
can do like what I call, because as a Christian, I don't do meditation, but the kind of meditation I do is visualization. So I'll imagine that I'm on one of our beautiful Florida white beaches. I imagine and feel and smell like the sky, the water. I hear the noises. I imagine myself there reading a book and just enjoying the
Yeah.
peace and quiet, and just something that takes you away from that craving for a while can stop it, because it isn't easy, but there are some substitutes that you can use if you're craving something sweet. So that was one reason I mentioned the yogurt with the cacao powder, because
Yeah.
I love chocolate. So if I use yogurt with cacao powder, that helps me with that chocolate craving that I have. For people that like just candy, sometimes even eating something like an apple with some peanut butter or some almond butter will stop that. Because you're still getting something sweet, but a healthier version. What you've always got to think of is the healthier version than what you were eating. So if you really, really are craving chocolate and you can manage, which I can't, to eat a couple of pieces of dark chocolate, that's healthy for you. But I can't eat just 1 or 2 pieces. I want the whole thing. So that one doesn't work for me. But one of the favorite recipes that I have, and I actually did it on a detox I was doing, you take cashew nuts, soak them in water overnight, or at least for 4 hours, drain them, put them in there with some almond milk, blend them in something like a NutriBullet, put a little bit of pure vanilla in there, and then I layer it with, I happen to love raspberries and blueberries, so I layer mine with raspberries, blueberries, blueberries, then the cream, then the fruit, then the cream. And then on top, you can put something like some slivered almonds, sliced almonds, hemp seed, rolled oats, anything that you want. But something like that will help you with the craving, because you're still getting something sweet in your system, but it's a healthier version of sweet.
Yeah. 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 So if I understand you, substituting the usual sweets that we want to eat with a more healthier option is better than going in and trying to eat a little bit of it, because sometimes we just can't stop ourselves.
And I can't. I'm a binge eater, and so I have to be all or nothing. I can't do an in-between
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep.
it's funny, because in my house,
Wow.
my husband doesn't have that problem with sweets, couldn't care less if he ever saw sweets, but I could never take his potato chips away from him. So you still got the same thing, even if it's not sugar. The carbs do the same thing, and some of that is because the bad sourcing of carbs has added sugar in it, so you're still getting the same effect. So it's not always just about the sugar. It can be things like carbs that will cause you to crave carbs as well, because they've got added sugar.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. Wow. Wow. Another thing is that I know you talk a lot about hormonal imbalances and hormonal issues in women, and how does diet affect, or stress levels affect, our
Yeah,
hormones?
a lot. So the stress is a huge thing that throws off your hormones and your diet. So again, it all comes down to, with whatever you're dealing with, and hormones are the same. If you can get off processed foods, and if you can take in a minimal amount of sugar, you'll begin to see a difference. If you're eating balanced meals, then that will make a difference to the level of your hormones, and your stress will totally throw your hormones off. So it's really important. So like how you teach self-care, that's a necessary part of the whole thing of hormonal balance. The exercising is part of it. The way that you relieve your mental stress, the way that you exercise and get rid of some of that stress, and then the way that you eat. Keep your blood sugar levels level, and try to really eat a balanced, healthy diet. So when I say balanced, at most meals, you should be eating protein, some healthy carbs, some kind of vegetable or fruit, something that balances the whole thing for you.
Yeah. I remember in our conversation once, you had mentioned protein. That, sometimes we're eating protein, but it's really not good protein in terms of even the sourcing of our protein. Can you talk a little bit about that? The difference between the grass-fed meat and the industrial meat?
Yeah, so I'm not a vegetarian because I have any complaints or because of my beliefs about how they raise cattle or chicken or anything. I just don't care for the flavor. However, if you watch that movie Fed Up, that's FEDUP, it teaches you a lot about how our meat is sourced. So there are so many hormones, and you hear a lot about GMO products. You hear a lot about how corn is not good for us, and it's not, because it's genetically modified, but they're feeding that to our livestock. So even though you may say, I'm not going to eat it because I know it's not good for me, if you're not careful, the beef and the chicken, etc., that you're eating has come from that kind of source. So that's why I always teach my clients, look for grass-fed, free range, non-caged, if you're looking at like your chickens. If you can buy, and I realize it's difficult for people because of the price of foods, but if you can buy an organic chicken as opposed to regular chicken, you're going to have a purer variety. But I think that meat shops, what we would call butcher shops in England, if you can go to a good quality one, or go to, even Costco has good organic sourced foods, but if you can go somewhere and find something that is a little cheaper, or if you can buy in bulk and you're buying organic, then that will save you some money. But you definitely need to see, is my protein source healthy? It's the same when you're looking at yogurts. Because some of them, not so much where they come from in the terms of the milk, but if you go for like your low fat, no fat type of food, what they have done is they've taken the naturally sourced food, they've stripped it of all of the nutrients to make it a lower calorie content, and then they put chemicals back in and what I call fake sugars to make it taste better. So you're always better off eating a product that's a whole food, like your Greek yogurts or your full fat foods. Then you'll get your fiber, your protein, your carbs, everything that you need, like one-stop shopping, and you'll feel more satisfied, and you'll feel full longer, and you'll feel healthier and more energetic.
This is very eye-opening, Lynn, because a lot of times, we may think that we're being healthy, but in reality, because of the source of the food we're eating, we still have a lot of toxic and a lot of, I'll say, unhealthy stuff getting into us, even though we're trying so hard to be healthy. So that's very eye-opening.
So when you're shopping in the grocery store, always shop on the outside of the grocery store. Because if you go into the main aisles, you're getting something that may be packaged saying this is healthy, but it only has to have one healthy ingredient for them to be able to tell you it's healthy. So learn to read the labels, very important.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. And that reminds me, you had mentioned healthy carbs. Can you at least educate us a little bit more about what healthy carbs are and what
Mm,
unhealthy carbs are? Yeah.
yeah. So most of your unhealthy carbs are the ones that are processed. So if you think about white rice, this is always my favorite
Mm,
getting on my bandwagon sauce. So we've eaten white rice as a staple, but just like the yogurt, what they've done to make white rice is they've stripped it of its nutrients. They've put back
mm,
in preservatives and chemicals, added sugars, added whatever, and they've made this white rice. There is no nutritional value. It is a bad carb. Most of your pastas that are
yeah.
white pastas, they're
Mm,
bad carbs. So you're looking for something, and it's hard for people because we're also used to eating all the white stuff that it doesn't come naturally
yeah.
to eat the brown stuff. One of the best rices I've found that I like is the brown basmati rice because it's not quite
Mm,
as nasty, strong tasting as a brown rice. It looks more like a white rice, but it's a healthier version. So the bad carbs spike your sugar, which is why diabetics can't eat regular carbs. So
yeah.
if you're eating bread, it's not healthy
Mm,
for you. It's a bad carb, much as you may love it. That's not to say you can't ever eat it again. You just need to limit how much you eat. Or if you're buying, say, if you love bread, go to a
yeah.
grocery store like we have Publix here in Florida that makes their own breads, and you can buy like a 5-grain bread. It's going to be
Mm,
a healthier option for you. Your great carbs, actually, a lot of them come from fruits and vegetables. So we don't even realize
mm-hmm.
we're eating good carbs. Of course, your brown version of things. So even nowadays, they've got things like pastas that are made out of quinoa or different
Mm-hmm.
sources. And as I
Yep.
say, it can take a bit of getting used to, but what you can do to make the change is start making 3/4 white, 1/4 a healthy sauce, and then increase the healthy sauce until you get used to the taste.
Yeah.
Grains like quinoa, wonderful source of protein. It's an ancient grain that's a good carb. So there are some good options out there, some good carbs that just take a little bit of getting used to and a bit of experimenting with when people first start out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I like the fact that you talk about transitioning so that, because not everybody, I like to
No.
just go, cold turkey when I'm doing these things because I feel like I'm either in or not. But if it's hard to go cold turkey, then you want to just start, transitioning bit by bit, and
Mm-hmm.
then that way you can get into the groove. Yeah. Yeah. This has been an awesome conversation, Lynn, and it's been very
Thanks.
eye-opening. So what are your last words before you go?
So I am a healthy lifestyle coach. So I think people have to remember that we're not in this to deprive ourselves and to starve ourselves. We're in this
Mm,
to get into a healthier routine. And sometimes it is making good substitutes for some of the unhealthy foods. But then remember there's an 80-20 rule. Eat healthy
yeah.
80% of the time, 20% of the time have at it, have your splurges, because it's not realistic to think that you can live in that diet mentality for the rest of your life.
Yep.
You've got
Yep.
to learn a healthy lifestyle and then a little indulgence, and that's what keeps people in it to win it, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good. And where can we find you?
Yes, yeah, my website is holistic-healthandwellness.com. And I have a group on Facebook called the Energized Healthy Women's Club. And we'd love to have your listeners join there. We have tips throughout the week
Yep.
and recipes, different things. So that's how Arma and I got to know one another, by being in one another's groups. So
Yep. Yep. And it's nice knowing you. And
thanks.
I
And
like the fact that I'm able to reach out to you if I need any
yes,
tips for myself. So that's good.
absolutely.
Yep. Yep. I'll put all the links in the show notes. And you said you had a freebie for us, which is for the
Yes.
meal preps and the list of
Snacks.
snacks, healthy snacks.
Hmm.
Yes. So I'll put all the links in the show notes so that
Okay.
whoever wants to grab it can grab it. And then that way they can also, get into your network and get to know you more. So that's
Awesome. Great.
awesome. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. In today's episode, we talked about how we can still eat healthy and have a healthy lifestyle even with our busy schedule. And some of the things that we touched on was the fact that we need to plan ahead and meal prep ahead so that all our food is ready for us to go when we are hungry. We also spoke about how stress affects our hormone level, and we spoke about sugar addiction and how we can beat that sugar addiction and the cravings when we are under stress. So I hope that this episode has educated you and answered some of the questions that you have about how you can eat healthy and beat those cravings and those sugar addictions as a busy woman on a mission to shift from burnout to balance. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope to see you next week. This has been Brew, your life balance strategist. Have a great week.